How are we doing? Kat, Carrie, Sparkling. Hey, there's Greg, Grammy, Pam, Rodney. Can you guys hear? Because I didn't plug in my super duper mic. Give me some thumbs up to let you know. I think it's just Can you guys? Hey, okay. I guess I got contact. Okay, so yesterday I got thanks for all the shares. Yesterday I got cut off, you guys, telling you about what happened when the lady um, did something that scared her. Come on, where are you? And I want to continue that story. We were having a grand old time driving through Minnesota, right? And Otter Tail County, okay? I lost you all at Nimrod. You can pee at Nimrod, but you can't broadcast near Nimrod because, yeah. But there are times when, oh, good. Thanks, Raylene. There are times when peeing is more important than broadcasting. Can I get an amen, brothers and sisters? So we had a fantastic trip, just tons and tons and tons of driving, really, really interesting, and just picking up on what it's like in different parts of the country and how people are reacting and acting toward each other. And I was really impressed with South Dakota. You know, their governor is a rock star, Kristi Noem. And I was talking to the people. They said she never shut down the state. They did not have the restrictions they had in other states. And they had an outbreak in the meat packing plant. So they quarantined the meat packers. Imagine that. They quarantined the sick people. And I'm sure that they put out health requests and concern for people with comorbidity things to be really careful. But they never quarantined the population. They never quarantined the healthy. And sure, yeah, it's a lower populous state. But never in the history of the world have we quarantined healthy people. We've always quarantined, as a matter of public policy, sick people. And then other people who need to be careful have always also, we've required a certain amount of separation. So I thought it was really, really fascinating, and it was interesting to be there, and it was a breath of fresh air to be in a place with some normalcy. And there were people who did wear masks and do different things. And on one elevator, there was a couple, kind of an older couple that had masks on. We were going to get in the elevator, and they said, "No, could we please ride up by ourselves?" I was like, "Hey, awesome! Feel free. I'll wait for the next elevator." But it was just an amazing feeling. And I think part of what's happening around us is that until you lose your freedom, sometimes you don't realize how much it means to you. And hey, Sandra. So we just got back last night, and I don't know, what is it about driving for hours and hours and hours that's like, it just kind of really drains you. But my husband's like had 50 hours of driving in since we left New Hampshire. Come on. In any event, I wanted to follow up. I was reading you the story of a lovely lady who wrote to me about doing something that scares her. And then I want to talk to you and to me about the importance of always doing scary things and why that's a kingdom mindset. And occasionally I forget that I haven't sort of reloaded some of these things as truths and foundations, because we have to stay on the edge, because we live consistently between a kingdom of love and eternal security and authority, and a kingdom of lack, and a kingdom of fear, and a kingdom of self-preservation. And we have to continually choose that. And that becomes something that our brain is receptive to. The choices we make and the beliefs that we live out become the things that literally wire our brain and change our bodies. And so we have to be intentional about risk as a way of life. And we can talk about that. And hopefully we're all adults here, so we're talking about the kinds of risks that are faith-driven risks. And faith is something, if it's faith, it's a culture of honor. It's a culture of kingdom. It's a culture of laying down your life for others, but not out of social control. And so we want to continue kind of keeping our skills up about how we become people who live an intentional choice to risk, to to go beyond what we feel comfortable with, because it's possible to wire yourself to never risk, to never fully love, to never fully trust. You can actually train yourself to live a life where you're always pulling back and living in the forms of fear we call avoidance and procrastination. And so it becomes a life skill. This is what I haven't said to you in a while, but fear-free living is two things we need to think about, we need to understand. First, it's a commandment. There's hundreds of times in the Bible we are commanded not to fear, not to be in a state, to be as an infinitive, to be. In other words, I am, you are, it is to be. I amness, I am afraid. That's my state of being. We are commanded in Scripture not to live out of a state of being, of fear. It's a commandment. It's not a suggestion. God doesn't have any fear to give us other than the kind that reminds us of his awesome glory, right? And so it is a commandment to live fear-free. And it is also a life skill, which means it can be learned and it can be taught. And the more we press past the ways that we have self-limited through consistently, daily, choosing to pull back from risk, we will find that we actually give in and we create a world in which we can only function well out of fear. I will only be okay if I'm safe in terms of definable things that I can control. I believe that the deepest safety is a state of being and knowing who you are, and not the things around you that you can control. They're helpful and they're important because we do set boundaries and we do have practicalities like saving money, right? And saying, I want to have so much money in the bank for a rainy day. Or I want to sow into a relationship to create the kind of emotional safety that I can draw from if that relationship becomes stressed. For example, I want to tell you a beautiful thing that happened. I posted on masks. And this was one of my intentional things, do something that scares you, is to go on Facebook and just wasn't anything inflammatory. I was more inflammatory before. And it was amazing to me how quickly people, how fast that post got out, and how fast people felt the need to slap it down and correct me. And I knew intuitively that was going to happen. I just sort of wanted to see. I wanted to exercise my risk skill, my push the boundaries skill. And it's interesting that something like that now has become the thing that triggers so many people. I have a feeling, by the way, I don't know if this is true, I have a feeling that, and I'm going to chat for a while and then I'm going to give you the second part of the story of what that I was telling you in the car when we lost signal near Nimrod. I have a feeling that certain keywords in posts get bumped up and certain ones don't. And when they get bumped up, I think they're very aware of the tendency to self-censor and to put you out there in an environment where you're likely to be shot down. I really do. Because I posted some other really good things this week. And it's interesting, 4 or 5 people, nothing, nothing all that important, but not insignificant, and still a little bit edgy. And I think that there's some sense in which they are pushing forward things that they know or that will put you in a situation where there'll be social censorship taking place to kind of keep everybody in, unless you become a threat. And then I think there's probably some shifting happening so people don't see your posts. But in any event, I put out there the fact that masks, that says on the box that they won't protect you from COVID-19, and I just put it out there. And that was like, wow, it was a very emotional thing. And I realized I didn't want to debate people. I just wanted to use my voice, and I used it. And I got a lovely text from a friend who was upset in her own way, and she has a different thought about this than I do. And she said, outside the fog of social media, I'd like to just talk with you. How are you? And I was so blessed by that because she demonstrated that there had been a deposit in our relationship that I had deposited into her and she deposited into me. So in the moment where there might have been some stress, there was something to draw from. So when it comes to feeling safe, it's important to do practical things like putting money in the bank, developing relationships where you're investing, but you're not doing it out of paranoia. It's wisdom. It's wisdom to save money. It's wisdom to eat your vegetables. It's wisdom to take your supplements. And in some cases, if you feel like it's wise, wear your mask. These things become choices out of wisdom, but not paranoid choices to ensure our core safety. That's got to come from God. That's got to come from inside us of knowing who we are. And that grows, my friends, as we learn to risk, as we learn the skill of being fear-free, as we learn the skill of telling our brain how we expect it to support us by changing what we say and what we think and how we respond and how consistently we speak the truth out of our mouths. It requires a real intentional daily speaking out of what you expect your brain to support is going to be what's going to come out of your mouth, and how often it comes out of your mouth, and how often you shepherd your own soul to calm down when you feel the risk, right? And so we have this idea that safety is going to come from external things. If my government gives me permission to do this, then I must be safe. If I follow these recommendations from this expert, that's the way I will be safe. If we're, quote, all in this together and we all stay home, that's how we will be safe. If I never confront an abuser, that's how I will be safe. If I never stick it out there. For me, it was kind of like if I never perform for an audience again, I'll feel safe. And these are external things, and they're not true. Safety, the deepest sense of safety, is something we learn on the inside. And we learn by how we shepherd our gray matter and how we manage daily to stay in levels of risk that teach us over and over again who we are and where our resource comes from. That's how you learn the skill of being internally safe. Also by getting your memories healed and inviting God to take from us the anxiety, to take from these things, not as a wish. Do you understand that when you get healed from a memory, it's not one of those prayers where you're begging God to make it better for you? Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, please make it better for me. And he goes, no, I've given you authority over your mind and your thoughts. You've got to take authority over them. You've got to do the work. I've created a system in your brain that will support your deepest beliefs. Now let's get you clear on what to believe and how to think. And then peace comes. And his presence does manifest. But what I'm saying is, so often we have begged God to make us feel better. Just make me feel better, and then I can do the hard stuff. And the irony of it is he says, you do the hard stuff and do the intentional work of releasing the pain and letting him deal with that. or even the intentional work of saying, like, if you're getting a memory healed, Lord, here's the pain. I remember the pain of Miss Thon in 5th grade, when I was 5 years old in kindergarten, and it really brings. And Lord, I give you this pain. It's intentional. I choose to give it to you. I ask you to take it. I receive, and then I encounter. Those are intentional actions of interaction with God for healing of a memory. And there are other aspects and other ways you can do that. It's not just begging, God, oh God, make me feel better. God, oh God, give me peace. God, oh God, just help me be okay. Okay? Fear-free living is not only a commandment, it's a skill that we have to learn. Learning to function out of safety means dealing really deeply with a responsibility to your own thinking, your own words, and your own daily choices to risk. Because the degree to which you avoid something is the degree to which you give it power. And then there is also the aspect of what you do after the risk, when you've put your neck out there, like after you post on social media, after you set the boundary, after you tell your BFF, I disagree with you. And learning to parlay that really uncomfortable feeling into a new state of security. We can do that. That's doable. That's learnable. Right now, I'm in a certain degree of discomfort because I stuck my neck out and said something. I don't think it's controversial at all. But in today's climate, people are so afraid, and they're so looking for a sense of safety and security in externals. I will check the box and I'll know I'm okay. They're looking for security in things they can continually control. And that doesn't create security. It actually creates greater anxiety. So what I'm seeing is that when you challenge that and you say to someone, believe it or not, your mask isn't going to make you secure. It's not going to keep you safe. This isn't going to keep you safe. That isn't going to keep you safe. When you start calling out all the things that are not really capable of keeping us safe, maybe reducing risk on certain levels, and again, you may choose to do some practical things. I'm saying we are moving toward a state where we want to define our security by a bunch of boxes we can check, of externals we can control. And we're looking more and more to the government to tell us what's okay. You'll be safe if I give you the permission to be with more than 10 people. And we're living in a world where people have a false sense of security based on externals of control. Either the controls that we enforce by our avoidance and procrastination, just as an example, or are choosing consistently not to risk and not to face things, or not to speak. We're saying, I'm going to control and try to create a sense of safety by all these external things that someone or myself is going to say, if I have this much money in the bank, I'm going to be safe. And you know, friends, when you function out of that, there's always another thing you got to get. There's always another thing, always more money you're going to need, always more affirmation you're going to need from your friends, always more permission you're going to need from your government, always more. By the way, I don't take any Super Hearts. I don't know what they do. No, that money doesn't come to me, but they're sure pretty and sparkly. Safety has to be learned on the inside based on what you believe about God and yourself and the people around you. And that involves a level of consistent shepherding. It's a training. When you get a puppy or a baby has to be taught how to sleep through the night. A child has to be taught to develop its attention span by training and having times, alone times, playpen times. Children have to be taught boundaries consistently. You're going to brush your teeth twice a day, every day, whether you feel like it or not. And your brain and my brain is somewhere between a puppy and a toddler at all times, waiting for the grown-up to say, it's time again for you to say the truth about yourself and God. It's time to do it again. I know you don't want to brush your teeth. I know you don't want to practice your piano. I know you don't want to risk. So it's time to risk. It's time to stick something out there. It's time to do. For me, it comes on the page when I go to an empty page and I have no idea what's going to happen to the characters in a book. Or even now, after all I've overcome, when I perform, I will still have to be an intentional risk and trust and training, because I remember deep in my brain what it felt like to be, bless you, Sharon, to be terrified on stage. I remember that. I remember what it felt like to forget something in front of an audience and not be able to recover. To stay there. For me, to go into an environment and purposely say something provocative because it's important for our culture. These are the things, I remember when I learned to swim across the lake, and my heart was beating. I had to say, today I'm going 20 feet farther than I went last week, and I'm going to go 15 feet farther than that. And we literally have to shepherd our brains. And the number one way you do it is through statements that you say out loud. So if you're dealing with a difficult thing, you need to create for yourself a series of statements where you tell your brain what you expect of it. For example, I have a brilliant brain. I remember names all the time. I have the mind of Christ. I have an incredible processing system in my brain, and I remember what's important, and I remember details. That would be a work project where I would say that 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Brain, this is what I expect of you. Pay attention. You want to know why? Because I trained my brain not to pay attention. I trained my brain because of being anxious and overloaded, not to pay attention, to try to offload as many memories and responsibilities as I could, because I'd get easily overwhelmed. Well, now I want my brain to remember a lot more. I want my brain to remember your name. I want my brain to be more and more cognizant. So I have to tell it, brain, it matters to me that you pay attention. Listen up. That's why you don't say things like, this is going to kill me. Oh, that kills me. You don't say stuff like that to your brain. You don't say, I'm such a loser. You don't do that. Not if you want to shepherd your neural wiring. This is just one aspect, because we want to get healed of memories. We want to learn life skills. We want to be wholly orbed people, so we're practical in the way we build resource for the lean times. That's the extra money in the bank. That's the fact that you've been walking and taking care of your body, so it's got some resilience. That's the vitamins. That's the vegetables. That's the sewing into your relationships and spending time with people. So when you get these stressors, there's something there. But that's different than feeling like there are all these things. Oh my gosh, if I don't take my vitamins, I could die. Oh my gosh, if I'm not exactly this amount of weight, I'm going to be freaked out. Oh my gosh, if I don't get this affirmation or I don't call my friend, she's going to think I hate her, and then I'm not going to be safe. Do you see? Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. That's because I've been percolating. What else do you do for 30 hours in a car? I don't know. You percolate. You try to get signal and listen to as many of you people as possible, and then you percolate. So I want to give you a specific example from Rebecca. And I'm going to read you her letter again from yesterday, okay? She said, she reached out to me and she said, I've been listening to your Fear-Free Living on Twitter and sending links to my sisters and friends, and I've really liked your oft-ending challenge. Now go do something that scares you. This week we got the news that our governor has put requests on hold to move to Phase 3 opening, and he put an end to all the 4th of July running 4th of July parade this side of the Mississippi. So when our tentative dependent on Phase 3 parade got canceled, I knew why I had been moved to buy 100 small American flags last month. I've just sent out emails to organize a flash parade, a simple march of 99 flags, because I sent one flag overseas to my daughter, and the parade would be for a half a mile. I hope Our town's tiniest parade will be enough to continue the run of longest running 4th of July parade and maybe even beat those on the other side of the divide. It may seem small, but I'm moderately terrified of a bunch of people telling me I'm wrong, especially as it may come from my church or not. We'll see tomorrow. So this is what this dear lady did. So I challenge you, and I'm going to tell you what happened. I challenge you guys to do this. And I say, go do something that scares you. This is not recklessness in the sense that of disregard for common sense. It's a reality that you want to be aware that there are daily little things, big and small, that scare you. You'll know by what you avoid and what you procrastinate. You might actually feel fear / its cousin anxiety about cleaning your room. Why? Because there's something in that for you to deal with. Dealing with your finances, returning your phone calls, checking to see who's yelled at you on Facebook, whatever it is. So I say to you and to me, do something that scares you. And so what happened was that little thing floating around in her head made her aware of a calling. Wow, that would scare me. Wow, I see a need. I see a need. This is where it's going to happen. I see a need. That needs to get done. But I have a reaction. I have an internal reaction that I'm not safe if I do. Or I won't be okay if I do that. Or someone's going to be mad. Pay attention. This is your brain telling you what you believe. That's scary. But it's something that needs to be done. And it's something I can do. Do you see? She didn't just go and immediately call the fire department, try to get them involved. She did flags. She knew she could reach 25 people. That was a level of risk. It still made her uncomfortable, still challenged her faith, but it was doable. And these are the things that we build on daily. Okay, so let me tell you what happened to this precious lady, and then I think I'm over my time. So I said, tell me how things went. She said, my church showed an impromptu car parade that seemed to have been organized by another church. One of my participants was an elder at my church, and he wrote a very encouraging note thanking me for having the chutzpah to organize this. That meant a lot. And here was her takeaway. The enemy shouts, there's a friend Laurel who encouraged me to do the parade. I also read Amos 4. I also read Amos 4 every 4th to pray over the nations. And so she did her thing. And you know what? She derived a producing thing. And then when you tolerate, and you find out you can tolerate the discomfort, you really feel on a core level an increase all of the parts and the aspects of what that risk will challenge you to deal with and cost you, and you come out on the other side. You find out you could tolerate the discomfort. You could do more than you thought. God blessed it, far more than you even imagined. And even if it went really, and you're not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I have a lot to learn about allowing myself to be uncomfortable. I have a lot to learn. I don't like being uncomfortable. And you don't either. We have a lot to learn about the power and the importance of being uncomfortable. And finding that it's actually in purposeful discomfort that God meets us more deeply and profoundly. So let your discomfort and my discomfort be purposeful while we learn the life skill of fear-free living. You get it? And we're going to need it more and more and more. So, having said that, by telling my brain how to respond to it, say, you're great, you're awesome, you're secure. Jules, good for you. You stuck your neck out. Yay. Keep going. God is with you. Peace is order. He is backing your act. You're going to be fine. You're walking with him. You know who you are in Christ. You're his kid. I might have to walk myself in off the plank a few times. You can do the same thing. And creates resilience and new wiring in your brain and increases your faith. Not a bad thing, right? So, what am I going to say?